the question is, usually they're they're indicators to know whether or not somebody is prepared. It's like maybe you're going out, for instance, and you have somebody who's going out along with you, and you say, I'm ready, you're all dressed and you're at the car, and the person keeps shouting, I'm ready, and the person is not at the door. Or the person comes out and possibly not wearing his or her clothes. That definitely doesn't show a sign, in spite of the fact that the person is saying. So there were indicators to show that, you know, INEC was either ready or not ready, at least from the perspective of the voters, one of which is this voter cards, as it were. Today is March the 6th, at least a good 3 weeks, if not close to a month afterwards, and we're still talking about PVC collection in Ogun State.
Well, as it appears, INEC wasn't quite ready. But they convinced all of us that the voters' cards had arrived, they were ready for onward distribution to the various local governments and polling units, and they were ready. And we as a party didn't have any reason to disbelieve them.
On second thoughts, with benefit of hindsight, what would you say that?
Well, to be honest with you, with benefit of hindsight, it appears as if INEC wasn't quite ready in terms of the voters' cards. However, when I look at the statistics and I say, looking back 4 years ago, the number of voters' cards we have in Ogun State today is probably about the number of people that voted in Ogun State 4 years ago. So, what am I trying to say? Had the election held 3 weeks ago, we would have had a good number of people expressing their desire for who they wanted to vote for. You will appreciate the fact that a good number of people that are registered that have PVCs may not actually show up at voting point. So, what are we saying here? We are going to have a cutoff point and say, we are not expecting 100%, now that we're expecting 80%. What's a good number that represents people that are trying to express?
And what would that good number be?
Your guess is as good as mine.
I don't have a guess. So what's your guess?
I would say if we're able to achieve 75% of registered voters, that should be good enough.
What are your fears? Do you exercise any fears? Going by, you say that with benefit of hindsight now, you can see that INEC wasn't totally ready. Do you have any further fears as the elections for March the 28th approach?
Well, to be honest with you, my fears here are mainly fears that are based on the semblance that it's beginning to appear as if we are going from one excuse to the other. We need to hold this election. We will never be 100% ready for this election. But it appears as if the other party or the other parties are beginning to go from one excuse to the other. If it's not the excuse of insecurity, it's the excuse of card readers, or the excuse of PVC collection, this election has to hold.
So you're afraid that these elections might not hold? That's a fear you exercise?
I'm not afraid that this election might not hold, because I'm sure this election will hold. Mm-hmm. I'm worried that people appear to be looking for reasons to ensure that this election does not hold. That's what I'm worried about.
Do you take solace in the fact that it was yesterday as well, Professor Chida Dinkalo did say, well, both parties, both sides having different reasons for elections holding or not holding. But if the elections are moved, it could galvanize people to a certain aspect. And so if those who are shifting or clamoring for elections not to hold, they may eventually shoot themselves in the foot. In the sense that, look, if you say, well, let's move it, hoping that we'll get some advantage, it may just work against them. And so then work in favor of perhaps those who say, look, let's go ahead and hold it on March 28th.
Well, the truth is that May 29 is the terminal date. And the electoral laws that guide how many days before handover date that you must hold and conclude elections. So, for me, I'm not an advocate for, yes, elections are being postponed, it gives me an advantage. So far, as far as my party is concerned, we think that PDP just shot themselves in the foot, really, because it hasn't hurt us in any way. If anything, it's giving us a lot of benefit. My campaign is, it's revved up even the more. There's a lot of apathy, against the other party. People, people they're no fools. They already feel that someone is trying to tinker with this process. And what they say is that whichever day you postpone this election to, you will hear your results anyway. And people are very resolute. So I don't think that there's an advantage there for anybody.
Speaking about your campaign, why are you even running for office?
That's a very good question. I think it's a Greek philosopher that said that if the wise men decide not to participate in politics or governance, they will be ruled by fools. And I think that just best describes it. You know that I'm principally a private sector person. I'm in the oil and gas business and energy business. But I just feel that at this point in time, in the evolution of democracy in our country, we need to begin to encourage people who actually have some level of credibility and integrity to participate. People who can bring experience to bear in governance of our people. People who can truly give our people the representation that they deserve. Not people that in the past have been voted for just because someone said vote for this person, and the first thing they do is they get into public office and they begin to loot public funds. And you agree with me that Nigeria is a country that is blessed with so much. We are the sixth largest oil exporting country in the world. We have, in terms of human resources, we have the most brilliant minds in the world. I mean, we're contributing that worldwide. We are blessed with a lot of natural resources. But for some reason, we've not been able to get it right. We'll continue to live in poverty. So we must ensure that we don't just sit, in our homes and, be comfortable with our businesses and continue to raise our fences because we are not being led right. This is one of the things that encourages me. I have a governor in my state who has done extremely well. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you that he's the best governor that state has had since the creation of that state. He also hails from a private sector background. I was very encouraged by his contribution to democracy. And I believe that the more of us that find our way into politics, the better this country